part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another edition of the Reghi and Roda podcast, powered by MGM Northfield Park, right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Shout out to our fantastic producer, Ty Quartz, who's making sure all of you out there get this in the podcatosphere. And it's not just any episode of the R&R podcast, Michael Reghi. It is the 100th episode of the Reghi and Roda podcast. Good to be with you for 100 podcasts, Reg.
Yeah, we're century men now, huh? How about that? And they said it wouldn't last, Roda.
Right.
It's always a lot of fun. You know, we go back a long ways together, and I love being with you. And I'll be honest, especially during football season.
Yeah.
You know, it's to me that's my favorite now. You know, and I think around these parts, you know, it's. You can go three levels, of course, with the Browns in the NFL and whether Ohio State in the college game and a lot of the other smaller schools here around the state of Ohio. And, of course, high school football here in Ohio is second to none. So during football season, Ken, I love making R&R happen with you. And it's, like I said, it's a treasure and a lot of fun.
And how about for this 100th episode, Michael, probably one of the most unexpected victories by the Cleveland Browns in a long, long time, as they were anywhere, depending on when you bet it, 9.5 to, I saw 11.5 point dogs going into this game against the 49ers in Cleveland. And that's why they play the games, right? The Browns pull off the upset 19-17 over the 49ers, handing them their first loss of the season. And that defense, Michael, and we'll get into it here in the podcast, they're doing some very, very special things under Jim Schwartz.
Yeah, and you just said it right there. That those final two words you said, Jim Schwartz. Yeah. You know, Kenny, since the preseason, I've been talking about Schwartz and what an impact I think he's going to have, because while the guy, you know, he had that opportunity as a head coach, and it didn't go great for him. But I'm going to tell you, Jim Schwartz is one of the top defensive minds and defensive coordinators in the National Football League. I've felt that way for a long time, and he's showing it, I think, with this version of the Browns as, you know, I mean, hey, if you look at things statistically, they're one of the top 4 defenses in virtually every category. But Kenny, I think it goes way more than that. I think Jim Schwartz gets these guys that they believe they want to play for him, right? I think they genuinely really want to play and be successful for him. I think they're down with what he gives them. And I don't, you know, he's the type, he'll take the hit, he'll take the blame if things go south, which they haven't, by the way, very often this year. And so I think Schwartz is just the perfect fit for this Browns defense as the guy running it and calling the shots for him.
Yeah, his impact, Reg, we talked about Terry Francona's impact, right, on the Indians/Guardians for those 11 years. And it was a major impact, almost winning a World Series with the Guardians. He's starting to have that kind of an impact in just, 5 games already with this football team, because this team is all about defense, as their offense is still evolving, unfolding, developing, whatever term you want to use for them, because, Deshaun Watson didn't play for the second consecutive game. They used their third quarterback already this season in PJ Kid Dynamite Walker, as he now is 5-3 as a starter in the NFL. And I got to give my my co-host JT credit for that one, as we've been calling him Kid Dynamite ever since they said he was going to start for Watson. But that offense, Reg, is not very good. I was doing some number crunching before the R&R podcast here, right? Mm-hmm. And the Cleveland Browns, as far as points per game on offense, averaging just 19 points per game on offense. But thanks to Jim Schwartz, 15.4 points per game on defense. That's all they're giving up. And through the first 5 games, the Browns as a team defensively have yielded only 1,002 yards. That is the 3rd fewest yards in the first 5 games in the NFL since 1970. That's how, I don't want to say historic just yet, but maybe they're on a historic chase. That's how good that defense has been playing, and they've needed that defense to be the key to a 3-2 start.
Impressive. Very impressive, no doubt about it. And I think it's going to have to continue that way, Kenny. This situation with Deshaun Watson, I don't think anybody's 100% sure where it is right now, other than the fact that he can't go. I was glad to see Watson. There were multiple shots of him today, really back in P.J. Walker in the offense and a couple of times running up and down the sideline. So, good to see. But I think as we saw the last game, the Browns need Deshaun Watson playing quarterback for them. And when that's going to happen again, not sure. But in the meantime, isn't it good, Ken, to know that and low-scoring games are not the thing really anymore in this age of the National Football League? But isn't it good to know against a team that came in here without a loss that you could win a football game of that magnitude? I mean, again, that's all about Jim Schwartz and how he has his defensive players believing not only in him, but what he's having them do systematically as well.
And Reds, that defense today made Mr. Irrelevant, the last player picked in last year's NFL draft, Brock Purdy, look irrelevant today. He was irrelevant today. I mean, Reg, I watched him today, and he was scared in the pocket. He had happy feet in the pocket today. He threw his first interception. He loses his first ever game as a starter. And I know it's only one game, and I don't want to make too much of it, but did the Browns give the rest of the NFL the blueprint for how to beat the 49ers? I know Deebo Samuel went down early in the game, and McCaffrey, was in and out with an injury in that. But the Browns played without Deshaun Watson, Joel Bitonio, Jack Conklin, and Nick Chubb. So that washes all that other crap out, right? So I'm just wondering, did the Browns, Jim Schwartz's defense, show the NFL this is how you beat the 49ers?
To be seen, whether it is or not. But to your point, Ken, it's a very good point, and I guarantee you that we know this about, you talk about any of the major team sports, it's what? It's a copycat league. Yeah. And when something happens successful, you damn well better be sure that I'm not 100% sure who Frisco has next, but we're going to have to take a look at it, because I'll guarantee you that some of the things that Schwartz applied today will be looked at by their next opponent, because it's a copycat thing, man. That's how everybody does it. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Brock Purdy, I've seen 3 of their games, full games before this, and I thought, I'll be damned. Who thought that Brock Purdy was going to be this confident and, throwing the football that well, running the offense that well? Again, is it something that, does he have the big arm? No. Does he have the ability to, again, make the defenders and defensive coordinators quiver? No. But he's got the job done. And today it was Jim Schwartz and the Browns defense, as you said, buddy, and right on time. He did not look as sure of himself and as confident, right, as I've seen him. As I said, I've watched 3 full 49er games this year, 4 now today. Right. But, I mean, I thought, I'll be damned. Again, Brock Purdy, who thought that this guy would be this effective and look this good as an NFL quarterback? Well, he didn't do that today. And so, yeah, maybe the Browns had some things for him that, maybe caught Frisco off guard a little bit. And Purdy certainly had his poorest game of the year.
Yeah, Reg, I looked at him today, and P.J. Walker didn't play much better. But, hey, P.J. Walker played better than Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and we're going to get to that here in a second. Oh, yeah. And it looked like 2 bad quarterbacks out there, right, going against two good defenses, but you looked at those and you thought, oh, those both are backups. They both looked like backups today, for me anyways. And so I don't want to say, hey, the bubble has burst on Brock Purdy. Okay, this is only his first loss, so I don't want to overreact. I'll pump the brakes. But I'm going to watch a little closer now to see, okay, that first loss is out there. And I was waiting for this to happen eventually and then see if it goes, on a streak, especially, Reg, if they're going to ask him to win games as opposed to just manage games and distribute the football if some of these key players are out for an extended period of time.
You're on it, and that's 1,000% what you just said. And we know there's a huge difference in just being able to stay consistent with how you manage the offense.
Right.
And then, Kenny, that's like the Grand Canyon when you go from that to, hey, man, we need you to go out and make some things really happen with a pass game. You got to win us this. Well, that's a huge damn difference. So, again, we're going to see how, their opponents go after it. But, yeah, I mean, maybe Jim Schwartz did a solid for a lot of defensive coordinators and defensive coaches around the National Football League. And we'll see how this plays out now going forward. Hey, look, Frisco's damn good now.
They are.
I've liked Kyle Shanahan since he was here as an assistant with the Browns, Kenny. I think a hell of a good football mind, of course, his father, a long-time head coach in the National Football League. But it's going to be an interesting watch because of what Schwartz and the defense did, having Purdy look so uncomfortable today.
Reg, I thought Kevin Stefanski held his own and maybe even out-coached Kyle Shanahan today, because here's where that's like high praise coming from me on Kevin Stefanski, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking you're going to kick a 54-yard field goal early in the game like that, and if you miss it, the field position there, and Moody's never kicked in that stadium before, and we'll get to the one he missed later in the game. And then I thought there was some questionable play calling throughout by Kyle Shanahan. And then on that last drive where, hey, they completed the one big pass play, and then he played for the field goal, right? And you know what it reminded me of? I had flashbacks. I'm wearing my Ohio State sweatshirt as we're taping this R&R podcast. I had flashbacks of Ryan Day just playing for the field goal last year to beat Georgia. To go to the national championship. And instead of trying to run some more plays on offense where it looked like you had that Georgia defense on their heels, I thought the same thing here. Oh, no, that defense is thinking, here we go again. We can't give up. And you just basically took a knee to set up a 41-yard field goal. Now, that's a makeable field goal for an NFL kicker, but in that stadium, it's a lot tougher. So having played there or having coached there, Shanahan, I thought for sure, Reg, he'd try to get it to about a 35, maybe a 30-yard field goal, get a little further down the field with the time he had left. And he just let it run out and went with the field goal. So the one play that he challenged, I thought was a horrible challenge early in the game, which cost them, because then it limits you what you can or can't challenge later in the game. So I thought Kyle Shanahan did not adjust to the injuries that happened, and he had some questionable decisions throughout that game, whereas I thought Stefanski, knowing coming in he didn't have Watson, I thought he did a nice job of mixing the pass and the run and using P.J. Walker as best he could.
Yeah, he did do a nice job. I'm with you on that. And look, I'm not, you know this too, I'm not the big Kevin Stefanski guy. But listen, I'm always going to give coaches, players, baseball managers praise when they deserve it. Well, he deserved it today. And he did a hell of a nice job. I thought he kept, P.J. Walker, not J.J. Walker, a little. I thought he kept him at least within himself. Kenny, there were a couple of throws that he made when he got out of the pocket, and from seeing as much, oh my God, it's like, no, don't throw that football there. And, again, but this happens. We could say this about in every football game again you ever want to see or look at. there were probably 2 or 3 balls that I think when the San Francisco 49ers secondary looks at it, they're going to say, how in the hell did we not pick that? He threw 2 picks. It could have been 4 easily.
Right.
But again, it didn't happen. So you could say coulda, woulda, shoulda all you want. Walker, again, for what he was dealt with and what he was expected to do, I thought he acquitted himself decently. You couldn't throw Dorian Thompson-Robinson out there. You just can't. So right from that perspective, I think the Browns made the proper decision and go at least, again, not that the guy is, going to become a starting quarterback in the NFL and take somebody's job anytime soon, but Ken, it was the right way to go and the better way to go against a team as good as the San Francisco 49ers. And today, it worked out for the Browns.
Here's where else I will give credit, Michael, and that is to General Manager Andrew Berry, and here's why. They do not win this game today if he doesn't cut or bench 2 draft picks. He cuts 4th-round pick Cade York at the beginning of the year, goes out and trades for veteran kicker Dustin Hopkins, who was 4 of 5 today on field goals, including another 50-yarder. That was the knock on him. He couldn't make 50-yarders, right? Yep. Well, on the year, he's 4 of 4 from 50 yards. He's 12 of 14 overall. And without him, they don't win today as he kicks 4 field goals, game winner, and an extra point. And by benching a rookie 5th-round pick from this year that you thought, which was a major mistake, major malfunction earlier in the year, that you thought he could be the backup to Deshaun Watson. Well, they got to look at it at real speed, real time, regular season, and said, okay, we were wrong. That we made a major mistake in thinking he's ready to be the backup. And so they pulled the plug on that after only 1 start and turned it over not to a great NFL quarterback, even a good NFL quarterback, a below average to average backup quarterback in PJ Walker, but he helped you win today's game as well, even though he did turn it over twice and almost got picked in the end zone. He threw for $192 and, helped you score some points today. So credit to Andrew Berry for, how GMs love their draft picks, Reg, right? For cutting one and benching another, because it was the best move for the team.
You're on it. And that's, couldn't say it any better than you just laid it out, partner. And I mean, look, again, there were situations where, Andrew Berry has had to get something done for this football team, and he did the right thing. I mean, again, he did the right thing in those 2 situations because, this game isn't going to be won today if Cade York is out there trying to attempt to keep the Browns in the game and then take the lead with field goal makes. And so, I mean, look, you got to have that, and you got to have opportunities. When guys get opportunities, you got to have them show up and come through for you. And today, against some might say that I think they're the best football team in the league overall, San Francisco. I'm talking about. I mean, you got the win, and again, it came because you're right. The general manager knew he had to make a couple of moves and wasn't afraid to do it with 2 guys in the field goal kicker and the young quarterback who he's hoping develops. Just he knew that we can't beat the better teams in the league like that. So he made the tough move, and for that he deserves some props and some credit too.
All right, Reg, we're going to get a break in here on the 100th episode of the R&R podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network, powered by MGM Northfield Park. When we come back, some news and notes from the game, which might surprise you with the Browns and the 49ers. We'll take a look at the standings in the AFC North, see what lies ahead for the Browns, and when the hell is Deshaun Watson going to play quarterback again for the Cleveland Browns? We're going to dive into all of that and much more when we return to the R&R podcast right after this.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tybus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tybus, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Hey, the Roadman, Kenny Roda here for the R&R podcast, and a shout out to MGM Northfield Park. Thank you for being our title sponsor. And MGM Northfield Park, you know it, they're your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of live harness racing every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday evening with a 6 p.m. post time. Wager and win daily on top thoroughbred and harness tracks from around the world with action starting around 12 noon. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park, and tell them Reghi and Roda sent you.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And we return here to the 100th episode of the Reghi and Roda podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network. And thank you once again to our title sponsor, MGM Northfield Park. And let me start right there, Reg, with the MGM side of that, because let's just say I found out that Vegas wasn't built on winners today with some of my wagers from around the National Football League, including the Browns and the 49ers. I looked at this one, Reg, and I had diarrhea of the mouth all week long on the Kenny and JT show. Ain't no way Browns are winning this game without Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, Joel Bitonio, Njoku's questionable, but he play. Ain't no chance with that deep Christian McCaffrey and Greg Kittle and Deebo Samuel. I don't care if they're traveling across the country and they had a blowout win on Sunday. Ain't no, I'm giving the 10 points. I'm giving the 8 points. I'm taking the under. I parlayed that sucker and dropped some cash today as the Browns, made me a little bit poorer today, if you will, because as I found out, that's why they play the games. And it wasn't just me. I'm sure anybody who bet on the Jets to lose to the Eagles convincingly today are in the same position I am, as we now have no teams that are undefeated. Everybody has at least one loss, Michael Reghi, and we're only 6 weeks into this NFL season.
Well, you just said the two. I think, to me, those certainly are two of the top 5 teams in the National Football League, the Niners that we saw here in Cleveland today, and the Philadelphia Eagles. And yet they both go on the road and lose lower scoring, tight football games. So, yeah, I mean, it goes to show you that, take road teams in the NFL while giving big points at your own risk, Ken, because, I mean, NFL home teams have a way of, either winning outright as dogs or certainly covering the number in many cases. And, I'm real pleased that this is a big win today for the Browns.
Yeah.
A real big win because of all the uncertainty you were talking about. I mean, I hope Deshaun Watson does everything he can to get back, and to quarterback this football team, for the fan base and, for the team itself. We don't know if that's possible. I don't again, I'm giving up trying to figure out exactly what his injury entails and what he's able to do or can't do with being able to throw the football. And I guess that's going to make the next few weeks rather intriguing around these parts, Ken. It's seeing whether or not Watson, when he's going to be able to go.
Reg, we had Dr. AJ Seth on from Ortho United. He operated on my shoulder, right? He's an orthopedic surgeon, hand, wrist, elbow, shoulder. That's his specialty, right? He said the bruised rotator cuff that Deshaun Watson has. All right, and I'm paraphrasing here. He says this is a rare injury. It doesn't happen that often, okay? And what we heard was the imaging came back, hey, look good, right? No structural damage. Pain tolerance is basically what it comes down to. He told us, he said, look, if he plays, he's not going to hurt it any more than it is. And so it comes down to his pain tolerance and whether or not he got a cortisone injection and how he, feels throwing the football. And the term we heard all week from Kevin Stefanski was functionality, I think is the term that he used, right? It's got to be functional. What's his functionality? Is he going to be able to throw like Deshaun Watson should be able to throw? And I guess, Deshaun Watson said, no, I can't. I don't have the zip. I don't have the RPMs, the miles per hour, whatever. And it still doesn't feel right. So the Browns said, okay, we're going to sit you. And I agreed with that move because I thought this was a throwaway game, Reg. I'm thinking, you know what? Don't let him go out there, get banged up, get sacked a lot, right? Let him get the extra week's rest, throw PJ Walker to the Wolves, take the loss 2-3, and you come back next week with him at Indianapolis. Well, they went out and won today. Now they're 3-2 going into Indy, and they look like geniuses sitting him out to give him that extra week's rest. But we won't know probably until Wednesday at the earliest, maybe not till Sunday if he'll play.
Exactly. I'm just going to say it might be Saturday night or Sunday before game time before we find out because they're going to be very, very cautious. I think Watson himself is going to have the major say on whether he does or doesn't, whether he believes he can go. But Kenny, is not Anthony Richardson now down and out for the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts? So, in that realm, I hate to see, especially quarterbacks, I hate to see any team lose their starting quarterback because, Ken, I think we can agree. You can say, well, yeah, they're still professional quarterback. I'm sorry, it changes every game. Any game and every game, it changes it so much when the number one QBs can't go. Hell, you really have no idea. It's hard enough to project when everybody healthy main players are playing, but now you get quarterbacks, backups, or guys that don't play a lot, have never been in that situation, maybe where they've been starters for any long period of time. Well, you don't know. So for that realm, again, evidently the Browns are going to at least be on the same wave there with Indianapolis not being able to play their starter either.
Yeah, Gardner Minshew will get the start, it sounds like.
And he's done some good things when he's had opportunities, right? So look, the Browns got to keep, to me, you got to stack things and build on things. And I think we saw today as we started R&R tonight, Kenny, I think the Browns are going to go in terms of bottom line this year in how Jim Schwartz and his defense continue to stack positive performances.
I'm in agreement with you, Reg, and I think the key will be turnovers. They created one today. They intercepted Brock Purdy, first interception he threw, this season. So they got one, but they were, -1 today because of PJ Walker. If the Browns can stay even or in the plus side of things in the turnover category this year with that defense, that's how you're going to win games. So whoever the quarterback is, whether it's DTR, whether it's Kid Dynamite, whether it's Deshaun Watson coming back, right? Just don't turn the ball over. Hold on to the football. Don't turn it over. And Reg, I was just doing some quick math. The Browns have now played 22 games in the Deshaun Watson era. He has played in only 9 of them.
Yeah, that's right. 9. That's right.
11 out last year with the suspension. He's missed 2 already this year with the shoulder injury. So only 9 of 22 games. I think we have a good feel for what this defense is, Reg, right?
Yeah.
On this 3-2 team. We still have no idea what this offense is, who it is, what it's capable of, especially with Nick Chubb out for the entire season. We at least know he's not coming back. But with the revolving door at quarterback, I have no idea from week to week what to expect from this Browns offense.
No, you don't. And which leads me, I have a question for you,
All right.
exalted partner.
Yes.
Look, I know Jerome Ford, had some moments today. He ran the ball hard, but Kenny, would you go with Kareem Hunt more now in this situation? I'm telling you, I still, to me, some people feel like Hunt is, he's done. I tell you, he ran the ball hard today. I know Ford was the main back, but I thought Hunt ran the ball hard. I still like him when you need 3, he can run tackle to tackle on the inside and he's going to get you the 3. So I'm kind of hoping, and I wonder, get your thoughts on it. Would you like to see Kareem Hunt get oiled up a little bit more? And as we go forward here, he will have a heavier hand in this Browns run game?
I think he will, based on this, Reg. As I was driving home from Jersey's in Canton, where I go every Sunday with the Stark County Browns backers. We watch the games. I come home. I'm listening to the post-game show, Kevin Stefanski press conference. Kareem Hunt started today, okay? He was your starting running back today, and Stefanski went out of his way to say, hey, we wanted to get him going early, okay? And when I heard that, I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah, he wasn't with the team for a while. They signed him off the street, had the bye week. Now I expect him to be used more, Reg, to answer your question. Yes, I expect him to get the ball more running and catching it out of the backfield as this season progresses and mixing in Jerome Ford here and there. I think it's to be running back by committee, but I think as we get later on into the season, if he stays healthy, he's going to get more carries, I think, than Jerome Ford will on a regular basis.
I hope so. I hope we're both onto something here, and that's why I wanted to bring it up and get your thought on it, because I think that's the way to go. I want to see Kareem Hunt continue, and you said it too. He catches the ball very well out of the backfield. And Kenny, I think the Browns, in the red zone and in the opponent's territory offensively, I think Hunt can do some damage for you. And I think that's all still what he's all about. I think it's been a large part of his running back DNA. I think the guy, like today, I think he loves to get the football with a chance to get in the end zone in that red zone, which he showed today. So I hope we're both onto something here. And, if his carries and his touches can increase a little bit, I mean, sure, obviously they're going to want to play Jerome Ford too, but you need to anyway. The days of giving the ball to a running back 30 times are pretty much gone. There's only a select few that do that. And so we'll see. But everybody who R&R, keep an eye on Kareem Hunt here. I think he's got a chance to be a real strong, impactful factor. And I think the Browns are going to need it too, Ken, as they go forward offensively.
Some news and notes to pass along courtesy of the Browns, post-game notes that they emailed to me, Reg. Kevin Stefanski, now 3-1 after the bye week, Michael.
Okay.
How about that for the head coach?
How about that? Yeah. All right. Well, there's only one of them
right
here. So that's done. So we can't go on that anymore. What else we got? What other nuggets do you have?
Browns now 8-2 at home all time against the 49ers.
How about that one?
Traveling from west to east, obviously a factor instead of a 1 p.m. kickoff for the Niners today in their body clock, it was a 10 a.m. kickoff today
Yep.
for the 49ers. So just so you know, Browns all-time 13-8 against the 49ers, 8-2 at home against the 49ers. And also Martin Emerson Jr. with his first career interception today of Brock Purdy. That now there's a draft pick that has worked out.
That's right.
For Andrew Berry, and he wasn't a first or second rounder. So you got to give Berry some credit for that one too, right?
Well, no question. No question. And with regard to your bringing up the record against San Francisco, I would love to see, wouldn't we all? Can we have another one? Browns at 49ers this year? Because the only one time that would happen would be to play for it all in the Super Bowl in February of 2024. So, yeah, if you want, seeing the 49ers again in this 23 season would be terrific for the Cleveland Browns.
No question about that. Also, let's give some love to Amari Cooper for the game that he had today, Reg. 108 yards on 4 receptions, but that one catch on the sideline where he climbed the ladder, went up above 2 defenders of the 49ers, and then pulled a Lynn Swan, able to get both feet in bounds before he fell out of bounds. That was a big play for the Browns in that game, and he continues to prove that he is still a number 1 wide receiver in this league.
Strong, absolutely strong catch, and you're exactly right. And there's another thing, too. Target Amari Cooper more.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, okay, there's going to be times he's going to be doubled. Well, of course, all the top receivers in the National Football League are. But you know what? That guy has got terrific hands. He's a real strong route runner. And he's not a speed demon, but that's fine. Throw him the ball more. Get him the ball. Give him opportunities to make plays for you. Because I think you'll like the result in that if you do.
Throw him the damn ball. Come on, speak up, Amari. Be like Keyshawn. Throw me the damn ball. Get him the ball somehow, some way.
Yeah. And how about you see Odell Beckham? It's not going well.
Oh,
it's not going well with those Raven birds with Odell.
But Reg, he's a team player and they're 4-2. You mean he's still not happy, even though they're in first place in the AFC North?
Yeah, I'm sure he's reluctantly keeping his mouth shut, I think. But, I listened to that one today. As they started at, 9:30 in the morning. I was driving home from Kalamazoo, Michigan after I called Miami and Western Michigan yesterday.
Okay.
So, I listened to almost the entire game. And, some of the Ravens announcers were alluding to the fact that Odell is putting it out there that he believes he should start seeing the football more. Well, of course he does. Of course he does. So I just don't think, though, that John Harbaugh is going to just automatically give into that. And I wouldn't think Lamar Jackson would either. But that's for them to deal with. The Browns will see the Ravens one more time this year, and these are the games, Kenny. You play Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati, man. I mean, we've talked about this for years. Those games count as 2.
Yep.
They're like 2 games. You win it, it's like winning twice. You lose it, it's like losing twice. So I really want to see the Browns give themselves the opportunity in the division to stack those wins this year.
Reg, one other note to pass along from what we got from the Browns. Dustin Hopkins, most consecutive games with a 50-yard field goal by a Cleveland Brown. He is all alone in first place, 4 consecutive games with a 50-yarder, surpassing Phil Dawson, who did it twice in his career. So again, that move that was made before the season started was the right move, and it's paying dividends right now for the Browns because they have it. He won them today's game. He scores them 13 of their 19 points, right? And probably helped them win another. So that's 2 wins just on that move alone, in my opinion, made by Andrew Berry getting rid of Cade York.
No, that's exactly right. And just think of it, a little bit more than a month ago, look at the bitching we were doing about you just can't go forward with Cade York. You can't. And as you said, Andrew Berry drafted him. Not, most kickers aren't drafted, as we know. Very few. So again, a terrific get in identifying Hopkins as a guy who's going to make big kicks for you and will make kicks in pressure situations, which Cade York did not.
Taking a look at the standings in the AFC North, Baltimore 4-2. They've played 6 games. They're all alone in first place, a half game ahead of both the Browns and the Steelers, who are 3-2. The Bengals got back to 500 with a win today at 3-3. So Browns and Steelers a half game out right now, and Cincinnati a full game out. This thing going to go down to the wire. Divisional records though right now: Steelers 2-0 in the division. Baltimore 2-1 in the division. The Browns 1-2 in the division, and Cincinnati yet to get a win in the division. They are 0-2. So imperative that when Cleveland plays its next 3 division games, they get at least 2 of those at the minimum to finish at 3-3 in the division. Preferably, you've got to find a way to beat Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cincy the next time you play them to get to 4-2 in the division if you want to win this division, Reg.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And you and I have discussed that a lot, too, as we've gone through the years. I mean, yeah, you need to go 4-2 in the division. 3-3 will keep you afloat. Anything less than that, you're asking for trouble. So, yeah, I mean, the Browns going to play all 3 of them yet one more time. And you said it, they got to win 2 of them, if not all 3, if they're serious about winning the AFC North.
I was just looking at what I might have won, Reg, if I had the balls to pick the Jets on the money line today and the Browns on the money line today.
How about that?
You ready for this?
Oh, you would have liked that.
Okay, I'm doing some quick calculations here. Jets on the money line at kickoff were plus 238. Browns on the money line at kickoff were plus 384. Okay. Now, if you were to parlay those two, that really boosts the odds up there. I'm thinking that would have been about a plus 1,400. So $10 down returns me 150 if I had the balls to bet that both the Eagles and the Niners would lose their first game of the year today. Of course, I didn't do that. No, I took the Niners. I teased it a little here, a little there, and got nothing back for it. I took Jackpot Joey to throw for 275, 2 touchdowns, and get a win. So I'm like Meatloaf. 2 out of 3 ain't bad unless it's a parlay and you don't win nothing for it. So not a good day with my various betting apps today in the National Football League.
That's all right. You know, you stay in the game, keep going, keep rolling. It is tough when but I get it. You say, well, look, 49ers, Eagles, arguably, hell, they may be the 2 best teams in the National Football League. They're certainly in the top 5, and they're both on the road, right? Both on the road, and we know there's a huge difference when you play at home as opposed to playing on the road in the NFL. So I get why you did what you did, and I'm sure you keep going after those parlays. Your time's coming, man.
I did get a $2 bonus bet, Reg, for the amount I wagered. So I got $2 back to wager on something else.
Boy.
I'll see what I can do tomorrow night in the Monday Nighter, which is Cowboys and Chargers.
Cowboys and Diego. Yeah.
Hey, before we get out of here and wrap up this 100th episode of the Reghi and Roda podcast, just some early thoughts, if you don't mind, from you. Penn State at Ohio State, 12 noon. This Saturday in Columbus at the Shoe. Buckeyes right now, I just looked it up, listed as 4-point favorites. Both teams undefeated. Ohio State, I think, is 3, and Penn State is 5 or 6 in the AP and coaches poll. Just your thoughts from what you've seen from both teams so far.
I like Ohio State to win. I like Ohio State to cover. How's that?
Wow.
I like Drew Aller, because he's a Medina kid. You know him. I mean, he had a hell of a high school career here in Northeast Ohio, and but you go into Columbus and things change a little bit with what you got to do and maintaining your strength offensively. And I don't know. The James Franklin factor for me, Kenny, is a part of that for me. I wonder about our guy James in big game situations. I really do. I've seen it. Too many times before. No question he's got a damn good football team, and he's got a very good defense. But yeah, I think Ohio State will take care of business because look, they understand. I mean, this is about you're gonna at the very. I see it, Chad. They're all three of them, meaning the three top teams. Kenny, would it surprise me if all three of them in their two games against the other two, all three of them wound up 1-1? No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. In fact, I think that has a shot of happening, quite frankly. So, we'll see. But I think Ohio State's, in a good spot. Look, it's going to come down to, and again, I like them to win. I mean, are they going to be able to go into Ann Arbor Thanksgiving weekend and for the first time in 3 years beat Michigan and not let Michigan roll them like they have the last 2 years? I mean, I think a lot of that's on Ryan Day and his coaching staff, Ken.
Reg, I said at the beginning of the season, I expected the Buckeyes to lose 2 or 3 games. Well, right. They won one of the ones I thought they were going to lose, barely by a half yard at Notre Dame.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So that means that they would have to lose 2 or 3 of these games. And that would be this week's game against Penn State at home. They follow that up on the road at Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's not as good as I thought they were going to be, right? And then that last game,
Fickle, you got the Luke Fickle factor there.
Yeah, Fickle factor, right? And then Michigan at the end. So I'm with you on the James Franklin thing, but at some point, James Franklin has to win one of these games, doesn't he? At some point, he's got to, get over the hump and beat Ohio State. And I know Drew Aller probably would love nothing more than to come home in the shoe and say, you didn't want me? Okay. Right. That's your fault. Look what I can do. Look what you wouldn't have to be worrying about whether or not you think Kyle McCord's the guy, because I would have been your guy. So this game scares me. Travion Henderson will be a factor. I was happy to see that the Buckeyes, Dallin Hayden played this past week. They were trying to redshirt him all and save him to get that extra year out of him. Pulling a page out of the Cleveland Indians playbook there. Hey, let's get an extra year of arbitration out of him, okay? So they were trying to save him, but all the injuries piled up, and he had to play this past week. So that I think Henderson and Hayden are the two best backs. When you're going between the 10s and the 10 and the 10. Yeah. But in the red zone, okay, you want to go power back. I get it with the bowling ball, Mayan Williams, or Chip Trainham. But he's a linebacker playing, running back. And that's what pissed me off. What? You're Ohio State and you can't get a running back to play running. You got to get a linebacker who, he was a running back but that's the best you can do. So, we found out Hayden was being saved. They brought him out. He played very well this past week. So I think the run game will be the key for the Buckeyes. If the Buckeyes have a running game against Penn State, they'll find a way to win. If Penn State makes Ohio State one-dimensional, I like Penn State to go into Ohio State and get the win, because I think that pass rush can cause some problems with that questionable offensive line in Kyle McCord.
Well, yeah, I'm with you on all those points you made. I do think this is incumbent upon Ohio State cannot lose at home. I mean, that's that is asking for a whole lot of big trouble, given that again, and we've seen that. I mean, Maryland, can you make the case that Maryland probably should have won that football game? Was it 2 weeks ago or one last week? Whatever.
This past weekend, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, look, Ohio State got the job done and won it in the fourth quarter, and I think I see a tight football game here, but I like the Buckeyes to be able to find a way to, as you pointed out, not let Drew Aller, get his revenge for Ohio State not going after him as hard as Aller would have liked. So, but the Buckeyes do need it. There's no question about it. If they don't win this at home, I think it's going to be a real tough road to hoe to go and be able to play for a Big Ten championship.
All right, Red. Should be a fun weekend of football, and we'll have it all for you. Buckeyes and Penn State Saturday. Browns at Indianapolis with or without Deshaun Watson. We'll find out later in the week, and we'll break it all down for you next week on the R&R podcast. Hey, Reg, cheers to you, man, to our 100th episode of the R&R podcast. And here's to 100 more, my friend.
Yeah, right back at you, Ken. It's terrific us having this opportunity to be together, and certainly a lot of kudos to Chase Smith and the Press Play podcast gang, and for allowing us to be together. So yeah, 100 more. Okay, let's mark it down. We'll stamp it right now and get it done.
Ty, you in for 100 more? Yeah, he's ready. He's got 2 thumbs up for that. Our outstanding producer, Ty Courts. He's cool with that. It's all good. And Reg, the other thing we got to do, we got to give a big shout out, special shout out to Brent Reach and everybody there over at MGM Northfield Park for being the title sponsor once again for the R&R podcast. They've been with us for a couple of years. Couldn't do this without them. If you've never been, what are you waiting on? If you're looking for a good time, head on out to MGM Northfield Park. So much to do, so much fun to be had there. Great food, great entertainment. You can wager, you can watch, you can eat. All of that happens at MGM Northfield Park, and we couldn't be happier to have them with us once again here on the R&R podcast. So Brent Reach and everybody there at MGM Northfield Park, thanks so much for being a part of this once again this year. Hey, Reg, always great to catch up with you, my friend. And thanks to all of our listeners, followers out there. If you haven't subscribed already, or wherever you get your podcast, please do so to the Reghi and Roda podcast, the Press Play Podcast Network. That way, when we drop a new one, it's hot and it's burning up the podcatosphere. You get that bright and early in the morning when we get it out to you on all the various platforms that we can send you our podcast. So enjoy the week, everybody. We'll talk to you again next time on the Reghi and Roda podcast.